My name is Trisha Morris, and I am the presenter. We'll be presenting on ethical decision making in organizations. Now, first, I'll be defining ethical decision making. And ethical decision making is a process of weighing and selecting possible outcomes of action in a manner consistent with the moral principles. Now, there are key components that we need to consider. The first is that there's a desire to do the right thing regardless of the cost. The next component is consistently applying moral principles to daily behavior. Finally, there's an ability to gather data, create alternatives, and predict outcomes. Why is ethical decision making important to organizations? First, making ethical decision is crucial for maintaining positive reputation, building trust with stakeholders, and ensuring long-term success. The next is that ethical decision making is guided by principles that ensure integrity, accountability, and transparency. Now, as leaders, ethical questions raised in situations where we have to make decisions, especially hard or tough choices. Now, realistically speaking, when these decisions are made, at times we have negative outcomes, and these include legal consequences, financial losses, and damage to organization's reputation. Hence, leaders have the responsibility that affect the trust and morals of others. With that being said, transformational leadership theory helps to give a clear understanding about ethical decision making. How leaders empower others is very important in ethical decision making. For transformational leaders, they inspire employees, self-interest that benefits the organization and show that they have some sense of purpose. Transformational leaders motivate subordinates to work together, modify their views, and prioritize organizational objectives above personal interests, which is a key component for ethical decision making. Now, in the real world context, ethical decision making occur in Nigeria, where they have a legal framework like the Nigerian Constitution and the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance guiding ethical decision making. We also have ethical decision making in dentistry, where dentists put their patient well-being first, along with fairness and respect for their rights. Importance of careful consideration and creativity in ethical questioning. Effective ethical decision making. What this means is that ethical decision making depends on the circumstances that arise, the emotions that we deal with. We have to question our judgment, the self reflection, anticipated consequences, and considering others. Next is creative thinking in ethics. Now, it helps to give you a wider range of outcomes and understand the ethical problems that arise from multiple perspectives. Revisiting ethical decisions. Now, ethical decision is a process that evolves as situations and new information or consequences emerge. Leadership in crisis. Ethical leaders are transparent, accountable, and empathetic. They prioritize their stakeholder welfare in the time of crisis. Once again, transformational leadership theory helps to understand why critical thinking is important in decision making, but not just any decision making, but ethical decision making. Enhance followers' motivation and creativity, fostering strong connection to organizational goals. Transformational leaders change the way workers think about their job, causing them to perceive it as more fulfilling, challenging, meaningful, and they're willing to participate. Also, transformational leaders bring remarkable inspiration to followers' goals and moral principles, hence, lead back to motivation and thinking creatively, inspiring others. Now, ethical dilemmas occur when leaders have to confront situations where there's no clear right or wrong, or there's a competing moral principle. Now, there are two ethical frameworks that guides leaders when ethical dilemmas occur. We have the utilitarianism and the deontological ethics. Now, the utilitarianism is about greatest happiness principle, which states that an action is morally right if it produces the right amount of happiness or utility of greatest number of people, while the deontological ethics is grounded in a belief that certain actions are inherently right or wrong regardless of the consequence. So this framework stresses on the importance of moral duties, rules, principles guiding the leader in the way that uphold the ethical standards and what is right or wrong. Now, an example is, for example, an organization or company preventing bankruptcy, which means employees will lose their job, and this decision will save the organization, but protecting jobs for many others, that is a question where do we protect the jobs for others? Now, utilitarianism provides a flexible framework that allow leaders to adapt to different situations and make a decision that is practical. So it encourages leaders to consider the broader impact of the decision and prioritize that benefits the majority. Another example where policymakers mainly use utilitarian reasoning is where, for example, saving the environment. We have environmental regulations where we want to reduce the pollution. Despite the short term economic cost effect, the long term is a healthier environment and the improving public health. Hence, assessing organizational culture is very important because organizational culture is created, maintained, and changed by the people in the organization. It is also created and maintained by leaders. Having good leadership ethics will also form good organizational culture, because leaders may very well know that the shared values and beliefs throughout their organization will shape how the work of the organization is carried out. The leader is the determining factor in creating ethical behavior and a climate in the organization. The leader develops the strategies that will aid the organization. So the leader compiles all the ethical codes, implement it, and guide the members of the organization. An organization reputation is a valuable intangible asset, and ethical leadership plays a pivotal role in shaping it. Leaders have to be consistent with their ethical decision, and doing this strengthen the partnership with their stakeholders, customers, investors, and business partners, and it lets them be more trustworthy and dependable. When ethical principles are ingrained in the organizational culture, the company is better to navigate complex ethical challenges and minimize the legal actions and reputational risks that I have explained. Once again, transformational leadership assists in understanding the role of leaders. Leaders need to have trust, and persons need to be able to trust them. So, transformational leader shows that once you have trust from your employees, then you enhance their values, their ethics, their motivation, and this affects the company's culture. Furthermore, transformational leaders promotes ethical decision making behavior by positively influencing followers' values and emotions, strengthening the organizational ethical culture. Next, transformational leaders foster an environment where employees are encouraged to contribute ideas, participate, and grow professionally. Creating an ethical culture, in order for leaders to create this ethical culture as authentic leaders, they have to be transparent and open and honest in communication. Leaders must understand that being transparent fosters trust and provide individuals with resources they require to make informed decisions for themselves. Transparency in communication means they maintain authentic communication channel with their personnel by informing and presenting facts, regardless of how controversial these may be. Open dialogue channels is to establish a way that employees voice their concerns or report ethical issues without fear of retaliation. Leaders, once again, needs to understand that transparency in the organization assists with being successful and overcoming challenges. Rewards and accountability. Organization must actively cultivate a culture of ethics and accountability to enforce ethical leadership principles and behaviors. Now, moral leadership is driving cultural change. A culture of ethics begins with strong ethical leadership at the top, setting the tone for the code of ethics and fostering a climate of ethical considerations are integrated in the daily operations. Once again, clear ethical standard, promote transparency, and holding individuals accountable is very important to foster an environment that is conducive to ethical leadership and decision making. So this concludes my presentation, and here you can see my references. Thank you for listening.